magically, or by some voodoo, or by some serious awakening, the former deputy president found his voice to speak on behalf of Kenyans from the day he was impeached. Same case is applying to the former Attorney General, former Speaker of the National Assembly, and the immediate former CS of Public Service. These politicians are not honest people, and I do not for 1 second believe that all of a sudden they now have the interests of the people of the Republic at heart. I recall very well when there was a state function in Githunguri some time back. The embattled former deputy president was on the case of the Githunguri member of parliament, Gathoni Wamuchomba, because apparently she had refused to support the finance bill then. And there was all these threats that there will not be development in her constituency because she had rejected the finance bill. That aside, we saw him time and time again on TV and on national functions defending government projects. But when he was fired from his seat, or the moment he realized that his position was no longer secure in the coalition he was serving in, he started coming out saying that, oh, their Adani deals are not good. Oh, the country is not headed to the right direction. I have fundamental questions for these people. Where was your voice when you were serving in these governments? Nelson Mandela, the man who liberated South Africa together with many others from the clutches of apartheid rule, when he was in prison, he was offered a chance to have a position in government just for him to abandon his stand. But he refused because he had the interest of his people at heart. Now, when you realize that the administration and the government you're serving is not good or does not have the interest of the people of the Republic at heart, you leave. You don't stay there. You don't stay and defend it until the day you are fired. And then you come out and tell us, I could not speak of these things while I was in government. I remember very well the cases of abductions and killings after the Gen Z protests in June were numerous. The reports that students had disappeared, young men and women were not being found by their parents or their relatives, were numerous out here. Where was the former CS for Public Service then? Justin Muturi. Sir, where were you when we were dealing with cases of bodies, even bodies were not being found? Where were you when parents were crying for their children? Was it until supposedly your son was abducted that you found your voice? Why didn't you raise an alarm then? Why didn't you call for a press conference then? And just to know that these people just come to TV stations for interviews to hoodwink us, so that when they run for seats, we have some sympathy for them. When there are issues touching on you, when they are in power or out of power, how many times do you see them on TV discussing your problems? How many times do they get airtime on local stations or international stations to discuss your problems? When there are not enough roads to places where we do farming to get the produce to the market, do they come out to address that? When the children of the usual citizens who are being killed, were disappearing, where was Justin Muturi? Exactly where was the deputy president? I recall very well when ODM and its affiliates and its supporters staged protests against this government. The deputy president will get to the office by 5 a.m. supposedly to deal with wale watu wa yule mtu wa kitendawili. hawatatusumbua tena. But when Masai was killed, when Washington was killed and found in a quarry, where was your voice, former Deputy President? This is hypocrisy at its best. In its old fashion, in the same way they do it, they do not care about us. They care about themselves. Woe unto us if we think that the replacement of the people in government right now are such characters. Woe unto us if we sit down and decide to support people who are at the center of forming this very government and who are among those who declared to us, freedom has come. But where is that freedom now? Woe unto us if we go to the ballot and decide to vote along tribal lines. Woe unto us Kenyans if we decide that because our member of parliament supports the government, or our member of parliament supports the person who was impeached, that they have become better. I read this as a ploy. They are all after their own interests. We must be very careful with these people. This hypocrisy must end. It is eating our country. It is the problem. It is the root of the evil that we face in this country. It demonstrates the filth that is our Kenyan politics, and we must not allow it to stand. People cannot be finding their voices only when their concerns are touched. If you're a leader, you have the interest of Kenyans at heart, even if you're in a position of power, you must come out. I'll remind those leaders who want to hoodwink us. When the elections was tampered with in 2017, when the law was not followed to the letter in the conduct of that election, the Chief Justice and 3 other judges of the Supreme Court bravely came out and told us that the election was flawed, and as such, had to be repeated with strict adherence to the dictates of the law and the Constitution.
A declaration is hereby issued that the presidential election held on 8th August 2017 was not conducted in accordance with the Constitution and the applicable law, rendering the declared results invalid, null, and void.
They were brave enough to stand up, even when they were part and parcel of government. After all, the judiciary is an arm of government. When the likes of Martha Karua felt that there was too much corruption and that things were not going right in the camp of Mwai Kibaki or in his administration, you know what she chose to do? She left.
Very, very short statement that today I've tendered my resignation as Minister for Justice, National Cohesion and Constitutional Affairs. So I feel my position as minister is untenable following recent events in government. Responsibility for everything that happens in my
left
docket.
Because she could not stomach to sit down with people who had only their interests at heart. That is what you do. You will not fool us this time. We are brighter than we were. We are better electorates than we were before. And as the days go by, we become better at this. We become better at discerning your tricks. We become better at noticing you're the same old guard that has been there for years. And we will not be hoodwinked by this Pharisee kind of behavior that, oh, I am now good because I was impeached. Oh, I am now good because I was fired. And this does not just go to those 2 individuals. It goes out to each and every politician who has either been fired from government or did not get the position they desired to get when they were campaigning for this administration. We will not buy into your crap. Not anymore. We will stand against it and we will vote wisely. And that is my insight.